We're recording. All right, I'm here with James Weicker. He has directed a short film that's coming out, debuting, correct, at the Whistler Film Festival on December 17th through the Student Short Works Second Showcase.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can access that virtually, I think, from anywhere in BC. So,
from what I know, I believe it's like Western Canada.
Western Canada, okay.
Like Alberta and Saskatchewan as well.
That's good. Yeah, I know because I think the Vancouver Film Festival was limited to just BC, whereas like the Toronto Film Festival was all of Canada.
Yeah, I feel like there's like weird different things for different categories.
Right.
Yeah, I know that like my brother, he lives in Minnesota and he was trying to get access to it, but he's like geo-blocked. So
yeah, well, you know, I'm not going to encourage any hard VPNing here, but
I couldn't do anything to stop you.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So the film, I watched the movie 1.5 times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just watched half of it and then you called me, or joined the chat or whatever. But the thing I'm most curious about, just off the top of my head, is the theme of alcoholism and what drove you to tell that story in that way. Because it is a tale of rock bottom, right? But it's not quite. You know, you're not giving the middle finger to the bottle fully, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summation. I kind of wanted to tell an addiction narrative that wasn't so much about like addiction is bad or people who are addicts are bad or you can only be a hero if you quit. I kind of wanted to just explore, you know, more what it's like to be struggling with addiction and kind of like the reasons that, you know, we drink, and kind of wanted to be more, you know, I don't think it's unfair to say that the movie is not traditionally plotted out as far as
it's not
movies go.
Because the movie sort of does sit in between A and B, right there, if you know what I mean. It's you know, what's the name of Jess is the name of the lead character.
Yeah,
it's Jess is sort of in the throes of an alcohol sort of bender, if you will, as opposed to because it doesn't end with her, spoiler alert, it doesn't end with her giving up the bottle, and it doesn't start with her using it to cope because something happened. We're in the throes of it, right?
Yeah. I think you know, it comes from personal experience and experience of friends of mine, and you know, it's kind of about I think there's like a little bit of a millennial experience with you know, drugs and alcohol, where you don't so much like find yourself like Nick Cage and Leaving Las Vegas. You kind of just like one day wake up and you're like, oh shit, I drank every day this week. Yeah. And so I kind of wanted to kind of capture that, where it's like, you know, it's not about like origin stories for, you know, abuse narratives or anything like that. It's just like, it's coping.
Yeah. And it, you know, it happens, especially I find, and the movie sort of implies that sort of entry-level-ish job kind of thing, you know what I mean? Where you get in these cycles of, you just kind of see, especially with alcohol, more so than other drugs, I would say. It's very easy, as you said, to sort of accidentally end up being like, I'm addicted to alcohol. How did that happen? You know?
Yeah.
And it's much harder to say and not as cool to say as being like, I'm addicted to X drug. You know, there's a romanticism, whereas I think with the millennials don't have that romanticism of alcohol, beyond maybe fetishizing like certain eras. But
oh yeah, for sure. I think that, you know, I think that like everyone's kind of got their vice. I think for some people it's social media, for some people it's, you know, cigarettes, some people it's gambling, some people it's just like, you know, the drive to succeed, which is probably the best one to have.
What's your biggest vice currently, let's say?
Currently, I mean, I got like a huge nicotine problem.
Yeah, okay, cool. You can vape freely. I also have a huge nicotine problem. You're not alone. Did you used to smoke? Your profile picture on Twitter is you smoking a cigarette, right?
Oh yeah. I think I haven't had a cigarette in like 3 months probably.
Nice.
But yeah, like I kind of switched to the vape, but I would still every once in a while have one.
I'm currently that, you know.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I smoke a cigarette. Yeah, it's a nasty addiction, nicotine.
Oh yeah, like I mean, I've been smoking since high school.
Yeah, me too.
I was like pack a day kind of guy, and yeah, it was nice to get off of that. But now I found that like I would probably be less addicted to nicotine now if I was still smoking instead of vaping, because
Yeah,
like I. I don't want to go all the way down to like the courtyard there to have a smoke like every hour.
dude, I know. That's the beauty. It's convenient.
Yeah, but like like I go through like one of these pods every day now.
Yeah, sometimes if I'm in the throes of writing for school or something, I'll go through 2 or 3 pods a day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I'm not in classes right now. I'm just doing like TA work, and one of the hardest things is like that hour and a half of class time where I'm like, it's probably unprofessional for me to be vaping while I'm leading a class.
Yeah, but also we're all at home, right? So
Yeah.
fuck it. Yeah, dude. If I saw my TA or teacher vaping, I would be like more likely to put on normal clothes, sit down properly, and pay attention, and turn off Twitter.
Yeah, I am like for like the whole like putting on proper clothes and stuff like that. Like I definitely like choose the top portion way more carefully than the bottom
Yeah,
portion.
yeah, no
I
doubt.
think every class this semester I've been wearing sweatpants.
Yeah, I'm wearing Sonic the Hedgehog PJs under this right now. Yeah,
I actually did put on proper pants for this.
good
I
man.
don't know why I'm not planning on doing like a dance or anything like that, but I wore
You never
proper
know.
pants.
Yeah. So with drinking specifically, is that something, if you're willing to talk about, have you fought with the bottle? That's the expression I like the most, fighting with the bottle. And the bottle always wins, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. It's tough because that's kind of what I wanted to explore in this. Is like I've definitely had moments in my life where I've like been drinking too much. I've not quit drinking. I've taken the approach of like very much so cutting down on drinking.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's cyclical with me. I was going through like a pretty big party phase, like not this summer we just had, but the summer before, and then I basically had to like cut it all out because I was going back to do my master's, and
Yeah.
It went pretty good. Like I quit doing drugs, which was good. I still haven't done drugs since like New Year's.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the
Other
drinking.
than alcohol and nicotine, does that include
Yeah.
marijuana?
Oh, marijuana's not a drug. Come
Yeah.
on.
Okay. Good man. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like I'm
You're
not
talking
like
about like Coke and like M and
yeah, without being too specific.
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I was ever like a drug addict, but I definitely used it as a crutch, and
Yeah.
didn't want to do that anymore.
It fucks with
So-
your ego, man. Like big time.
oh yeah,
Even just temporarily. Like I don't like that sort of behavioral uptick where you think you're the shit and it's chemical. It's not earned.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting. Like I hit like New Year's and I was like, okay, I need to finance this short film. The only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I severely cut down on drinking and stop doing drugs. And that was the only way I
Yeah.
can make my movie about drinking and doing drugs.
Yeah. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the creative genesis of this? Where did you start? Because I know you're a creative writing student at UVic, creative writing.
Yeah. I'm doing my master's in creative writing.
Okay.
My focus is on screenwriting, but I'm also like really driven in like film production as well.
Okay.
My original plan when I was doing my master's was to do make a feature film for my thesis.
Yeah.
I'm rethinking that a little bit, just because of like how things are with COVID and stuff.
Yeah. You can't, as a, maybe amateur is not the right word, but you can't without like the proper paperwork and system involved creating.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like I feel like it's a lot harder to get kind of like an indie thing off the ground. Things have been kind of. I think that I can still make this feature, but I just don't think I can make it on the timeline of it being part of my master's.
Yeah. So tell me about how school was. I know you had a podcast about writing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I listened to it, man. Yeah.
Oh really?
There's only 2 episodes. You guys pulled 2 episodes are up. The last 2 episodes are up.
Oh okay. Yeah.
They have nothing to do with writing. The last 2 episodes, I gotta tell you, man.
Most of them had nothing to do with writing.
Yeah.
We did that. That was when I did my undergrad. I also did my undergrad at UVic.
Yeah.
And I did that with my roommates at the time. We were all in like the writing program. And yeah, we did our podcast called All the Right Stuff.
All the right stuff, yeah.
W and
Yeah,
it was so
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it was a lot of fun to do that. I don't think that we were particularly good at it, but like people seemed to be somewhat interested in what we had to say. Every once in a while, we would kind of stumble into actually talking about writing.
Yeah.
I think a lot more in the beginning than it kind of more became about movies. I think.
Yeah.
We kind of like we would always have like our Oscar episode where we just like talk about everything in the Oscars that year.
I guess 2017. What Oscar year was 2017? That was
2017. So that would have been
for the films of 2016, I guess.
yeah. So that would have been like Moonlight and La La Land.
Okay, yeah, that was a good year. That was an interesting year. Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't quite gotten it right since, although Parasite was a good win. But Green Book, you got to be fucking kidding me with Green Book.
Oh yeah.
Absurd.
Like I think I watched Green Book after it won Best Picture.
Yeah, so right.
Like everybody said this movie was so bad, and
Yeah.
and I just had to know, and I watched it. I was like, wow, this is absolutely fucking terrible.
Yeah,
Like,
it is. It is bad. It's really funny when it's trying to be dramatic, and it's really like off-putting when it's trying to be funny, which I thought was interesting. Maybe on purpose, because it is one of the Farley brothers, and they did seem to like understand that tone. But otherwise, it was the most misguided, like the white savior movie they call it or whatever, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, Mahershala Ali, like he's such a good actor, but he's like not good in that movie.
No, he's not. He's not. He's too on in that movie, right? It doesn't feel organic at all.
Yeah, he's like doing this weird voice that like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it kind of reminded me of like Donald Glover on Community, like pretending to be Abed in that one episode.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's funny. Yeah. And let's talk about your film more, though. Let's talk about your film. So the two major themes that I wrote down are alcoholism, and the film very much takes play in British Columbia, in specifically Vancouver Island. So I'm curious about. So you are a Victoria native, if you will, right?
Yeah. Born and raised.
Yeah. So the themes of the Pacific Northwest draws lots of filmmakers, but you really honed in on it from like a more of a social level than the kind of, David Lynch or Lars von Trier kind of thing. So yeah, just if you have anything to say about that, what drove you to specifically write about BC and lean into that?
I mean, I think it's like mostly about Victoria is kind of the big thing about it, because like you said, born and raised in Victoria, and like Victoria is undisputably a very beautiful city, and I would never try and take that away from anyone. But there is a weird divide between people who grew up there and people who moved there in adulthood, where you kind of see like you don't see the beauty anymore. You kind of see it as like, the island life is really like constricting at times, like the whole not being. I always think about it in terms of like I want to go to Seattle. It's 2 a.m. and I can't because the ferries aren't running. And I've never actually wanted to go to Seattle at 2 a.m. But the fact that I can't always pissed me off.
Because you're on an island.
Yeah. And it's like, you can't criticize Victoria sometimes. You talk to people and they're like, but it's so beautiful. And you're like, oh, but, we treat our homeless people like shit.
Yeah.
There's like, an opioid epidemic happening here, and it's like it pisses me off sometimes when people's only retort is that it's so beautiful there. And so
I find too when people do criticize Victoria, more often than not, it's like they don't actually say anything. It's just like, but and like you're supposed to know, you know what I mean? Like this little in club, they're like, oh yeah, it's so beautiful, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, you made a film that takes place here in Victoria. How would you define the culture of Victoria from an arts perspective, I would say? Because I have my thoughts, but they change constantly. I'm from the music world myself. So That's
Are
what
you
I
are you from Victoria?
I've lived here since I was 12.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, I actually was, no longer a musician. I mean, like, I was never really a musician, but like I played in bands when I was younger.
Yeah, I have that here. I found your MySpace.
Oh, really? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I'm not gonna tell anyone what your username was, but it was pretty it was pretty edgy.
Oh, I remember what it was, and I'm now kind of embarrassed that it still exists.
Yeah.
It was a different time. It was 2005.
Yeah, it was 2005. I'm like, fuck it, like it's fine. It was an Adult
I
Swim sort of.
yeah.
What's the
I'll,
term?
I'll give a hint. It was about performing a certain sexual act
A friend's dog.
on a friend's dog.
Yeah.
Which came from just the fact that, like, I don't even remember where it really came from. I just remember that, like, I said it as a joke and he got so mad at me that, like, I just had to call my MySpace page that because I knew it would piss him off.
Yeah. My fucking breaker just went out. One sec.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought I just lost your video, but yeah.
No, I'm still here. Hey, one sec. This sucks. I want to keep this live.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to just talk about something if you want. Like, I don't know. You know what? Okay, I wanted to know what I went through your letterbox. Fuck yeah, look at that. Cool. Okay. That's so unprofessional of me. I'm so sorry.
Okay, it's okay. I forgive.
Where were we at? We were at Culture of Victoria growing up, MySpace. We don't need to talk about the MySpace anymore. Music. Yeah, there we go. You played it in bands and stuff.
Yeah. Like I played in a couple like punk bands. I don't think I was ever like the amount of like punk rock that I thought that I was at the time. I was just like, little middle class white kid who was just like, yeah, fuck the system, but the system had never done anything to me that I should
That's
say.
most of these crust punks though, man. It's by choice. Like, you're choosing to be a railroad hopper or whatever. Like,
I'm definitely probably more of a punk now that I don't look like a punk.
Yeah. In spirit at least, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I feel like everyone's got a bit of punk in them now with increased political tension.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely, all about the bullshit that's going on in the world right now. Just kind of be like, well, I feel like a little bit more legitimized in like how I've always kind of seen the world now that I see people and like, yeah, fuck the police. I'm like, you know what? Yes, fuck the police.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And like, socialism is trendy, if you will. It's like it's not it's becoming less and less associated with Cold War fear and more associated with a sort of idea, an actual idea that works in some places and may not work in others. I don't know. I'm not a political scientist.
I'm a little bit older. Like I remember being in like elementary school and people like the Soviet Union had fallen, but like people still like thought of communism as this like scary like villain in the action movie kind of thing that was going on. And it was weird to just learn in adulthood, like, oh, socialism is actually a good thing.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I say for the most part, like I have a fucking clue, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think about that a lot too. I mentioned Sonic earlier. Dr. Robotnik from Sonic is like the ultimate symbol in my eyes of that sort of comical fear of an idea.
I actually have not seen the Sonic movie, and I'm like so like honestly I'm so dead on a lot of like pop culture references. It's so weird.
That's okay.
Like, especially video games. It's like a huge blind spot for me.
It's good. Video games are a waste of time. Sorry, everyone. No, I'm just kidding. I don't play that many video games myself, but I always have a kind of a fascination with. It's the biggest thing ever now. Like,
yeah.
And I almost feel like we're at the point where a Twitch streamer is as legitimate as you are making a professional quality short film.
Oh well, like they're making way more money than I am. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I think about the economy of time, right? From an audience perspective, where it's likely that more people are giving more people who would watch your short film are likely giving more time to something a la Twitch streamers, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's interesting because it's like if people are giving the same amount of time, does that make it just as legitimate of an art form, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's different than an art form. I mean, granted, I'm not like that aware of like Twitch streams. I haven't
Yeah.
watched a lot of that. I mean, I think there is a difference between like an art form and an entertainment form. I don't think there's anything wrong with something being pure entertainment, but
Where do you draw the line? What's the distinction?
I think it's about creation is a
Okay.
big part of it.
And what do you mean by that? Like,
Well, like I mean, Twitch is like you sit there and you play a video game and you like have conversation. Like I mean, for instance, like I don't consider podcasting to really be an art form. You know, sometimes if
yeah,
it's
I don't
like
really either, to be clear, but
yeah, I mean, like it's still important, but like it's just a different thing, right? Like it's
yeah,
I don't consider uh, putting a camera in front of a conversation to be necessarily an art form, and that doesn't mean that I have anything against it. It's just like it is about kind of creation and collaboration, and you know, it's hard to put an actual definition on it, but I think you know what I mean.
yeah. But do you think they're equally serious, if you will?
I don't like that word serious.
Yeah, maybe there's a better word than serious. Like, um, I don't know. I don't know if I agree, honestly. Like, I think that maybe podcasting in this format isn't creative inherently. I think there's elements to like conversation being creative, but that's kind of too esoteric for me. But when you look at like, I don't know, like the shit like Marina, you know who Marina Abramovich is? Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay,
I
she
think
did
the
the like
name sounds familiar.
she's like the most famous like performance artist ever. She did the like thing where she sat in a gallery and it was called The Artist is Present and people could just sit down with her. She wouldn't speak to them, but she would just look at them, right? And like that's like I'm like, okay, if that's art, then so is fucking Twitch. You know what
Yeah,
I
you
mean?
know what? That's fair.
Just because you put it in a gallery like and stuff, I don't know if that legitimizes it. Like, you know, if somebody had some like nice ambient music playing, well, somebody speed run Pokemon 1 in a gallery, like that's art. I don't know. Sorry, we're tangenting here.
No, I get what you're saying. I think it's like a very debatable
It is, yeah,
subject. I think part of it too is just like, you know what, art is different things to different people, right? Like,
yeah, very
you
much.
know, like I think that a lot of this is art. I mean, again, this is coming from not being really that aware of like what goes on Twitch, but it's like I think it's just something about like maybe it's even just like something about like it being very voyeuristic and
Yeah,
not like as planned out. I guess like do Twitch streams, do they do a lot of like planning out like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, or
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't watch Twitch streams either.
We're
Yeah,
just two guys who don't watch Twitch streams
I'm
talking
just
about
fascinated with new media. You know.
oh yeah, me too. You know, I'm definitely not one of those people who's just like, oh, you can only do it this way. It's the
Yeah,
only like I think some of the most creative people today are like just on TikTok. Like
yeah,
there's so much stuff
that's
going
funny.
on there.
Yeah, I don't
And
want to say that TikTok is art, but like it is.
I mean,
A lot of it is.
if it's not art, then art needs to step up its game because I've never laid in bed staring at a painting for for
Yeah,
3 hours and then said, oh shit, I have to get up at 4 a.m.
yeah. That's the thing too. I think about like is I talked to someone else about this last week, but passivity and active in terms of consumption of entertainment and art. And TikTok is active engagement, even if it's for a split second, right?
Yeah.
Music is passive, film is active, visual art is in the middle. You know what I mean? I think about that
Yeah,
a
but
lot.
I think almost like certain forms of like I think more TV than film, but even some films are passive as well. Like I I always have like a TV show that's like my background thing. Like right now I'm watching Hell's Kitchen.
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
Like I made
That's a
it
great
through
hangover watch for sure.
yeah, I made it through like 10 seasons of that show in the last 2 weeks.
Jesus,
And
man.
it's like I'm barely paying attention. It's all about like it's just like on my other screen. I'm like doing work or I'm like on my phone answering emails, and it's just like it is music basically. Like it's
Yeah,
just there to kind of like fill the time every once in a while. I'm like, oh, you just called someone the C word.
yeah, yeah. I used to use SpongeBob in that as my
Yeah.
passive background music, if you will. Because I just when I was young, I was so familiar with it that it was just like I could see
Yeah,
it in my head and just hear it, you know?
it's about those shows that are like familiar to you. Like I probably watched all of Community like 3 times this year.
Damn,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I mean, like
I
it's
don't want
been
to go back to Community because I think that I would find it to be too um, like memeified, if you will. You know what I mean?
yeah. I don't know. I don't find it to be like overly memeified. I think that like maybe the things that I appreciate about that show are I think that show's got a lot to offer. I guess is
Yeah,
just
it's got
like
strong characters. That's what I remember most about it. I don't know if I ever finished it, but I watched the first 4 seasons, maybe 5.
yeah. If you dropped off after the fourth season, no one would blame you.
Yeah,
That's like the shitty one.
yeah. Dan Harmon
Um,
quit or whatever. They got fired, something like that.
yeah, and then came back for the fifth season.
Right.
But yeah, like I especially with like quarantine and stuff like that. I've I've been watching a lot of movies and I've been watching those actively, but like, there is a lot of good TV, but I have been finding myself not watching new stuff that's like TV shows. And I think it's just because like my TV watching mode has just become so much about like background. It's like something to throw
Comforts.
on
Yeah.
before bed and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've always thought too, television, and this is obviously isn't always the case, but that television, because of its format, doesn't lead for good storytelling, which is what I look for first, generally speaking, in film. Is I like the way I find it to be the greatest way to tell a story because it's kind of stuck to like a runtime, sort of. You know what I mean? Like there's a 90. Like, films are between 90 minutes and 2.5 hours, generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
Whereas television has to keep the viewer's attention for an indeterminate amount of time, which is an obvious thing to point out, but it doesn't allow for the quality of storytelling that film allows for.
I would say that like TV has changed a little bit. I think in general the kind of cable model, the like 8 to 12 episode per season model has changed things.
Yeah,
There's definitely a lot more shows out there that are geared towards like actual storytelling across a season.
for sure.
Breaking Bad's probably the biggest example of that. But
Yeah,
I think that like with the advent of like limited series as well, it's kind of I am interested in that medium of like telling a story over the course of 12 episodes.
yeah, 13 hours or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's probably because in my writing I've always been kind of a blowhard.
yeah.
Like I tend to write longer stuff, and so I'm interested in that medium for sure.
Is there anything that didn't make the cut into Bottleneck? I have a sneaking suspicion that your film got a little bit neutered by COVID. Would that be fair to say?
Not really, actually.
Because I applied to be an extra in it, and then I got sick, and I was like, never mind, I'm not showing up.
Yeah.
Then
Well,
a week later, I got laid off, right? It was like, just like that, so.
well, it was like, okay, so like the stay-at-home order, that was March 17th. We wrapped shooting on March 15th. And that day that you were
nice.
going to be there, that was the last day of shooting.
Okay.
And that was like our big like club scene,
Yeah.
which thank God it didn't go as planned because we were supposed to have 40 people there and we only ended up having like 12, I think.
Yeah.
And I think we managed to shoot it in a way where we kind of sold it. I don't know if I'm like taking the magic away from the filmmaking.
It worked.
Like,
Yeah, it worked.
yeah.
The club scene was, it felt like there were a lot of people there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what kind of what we were trying to do is just like create that sense. And I think it almost made for a better scene because we were less tempted to do like big wide shots, and we kind of like kept the camera really close to her and just like stayed in those like emotional moments.
Yeah, because it gave you that sort of, that presentness that comes with extreme intoxication, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, as far as like things getting cut out, that was more just for time, really. Like, I mean, it's 28 minutes long. I'm really proud of it.
It's a tight watch. Like I couldn't believe it was over when I
thank you, man.
first watched
Yeah,
it.
like but like the first cut was like 45 minutes long, and that
Okay.
was off of like a 24-page script.
Yeah.
I think we really only cut down like one plot point out of there. Everything else was just like tightening up scenes.
Which plot point was it? If
It's
I can
the
ask.
last scene,
Okay.
not the last scene, but like the scene at mile zero there with them, talking about Terry Fox and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I'm gonna ask
There
you
was
about Terry Fox.
like
Yeah.
oh, it's Terry Fox.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more about the Kayla character and like her relationship that I had written, and like no fault of the actors at all. We just kind of realized that like it was too much. The scene was dragging, um, and honestly, it was a little bit our fault that we kind of didn't shoot it interestingly enough to sustain it for
Yeah.
that long. We I think we've done a good job of making it interesting now, but it just it wasn't the right way to shoot like a long dialogue scene. It just fell kind of flat.
Yeah. I found that with all the other characters outside of the protagonist, I think you did a good job of having everything propel her forward, right? As opposed to because everyone seems like relatively fleshed out, but it's really not about them. It's about Jess, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing you realize too is like you're doing a short film, you don't have time for a B story in there.
No, and that's very, very hard to pull off. Great filmmakers even fail at that, right?
Yeah, well, I mean the thing is I think about 20 drafts of the script before we even got to the shooting draft, and so I had like various characters being bigger roles in the movie. Like the John character was like a big part of like early drafts. So I kind of
Right.
like knew that character a lot more than I had time to show him. And same for like Kayla and Scott. There was like a lot of scenes that got cut just in the writing process.
Yeah. I have a weird question. So Scott is the boyfriend of the lead character.
Yeah.
What did you write him as doing for a living? Because in the scene where they're eating breakfast and you have the scene with the yolk and everything, um, I guess the yolk sort of symbolizes like just disgust and I have an Irish buddy who calls sort of the shame over. He calls it the fear, right? Which I
I
like a
guess I
lot.
wasn't really thinking about it in terms of that, but I think in the back of my head I was thinking about that. Yeah, just like the shot of the egg of just like when something is like so disgusting to you when you're hungover and just trying to get breakfast
Yeah,
in you.
yeah. Even though that's often like almost an erotic thing in the terms of like your now this type videos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what does Scott do for a living? He's all dressed up, and I was like, oh, this man makes bank.
Well, I saw him as working like in a bank. That's kind of
Okay, hell yeah.
like it's weird because I've done so many different drafts of the script. I'm like trying to adapt it into a feature, and so I've probably got like 500 pages on all of these characters just tucked
Yeah,
away. Like
damn.
the way I kind of see it is like he works in a bank, but he's like a teller who wants to be a loan officer kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's his big dream.
To be a loan officer.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I got the what do they call them? Fin bro kind of like without antagonizing, but like finance bro kind of vibe. I think
Oh yeah, for
just simply
sure.
from that one get up and the kind of you know way that he was approaching his relationship or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of like I
He
wanted
actually was more
to.
fleshed out than I thought. Now that I'm thinking about it, that character actually is pretty fleshed out.
Well, I kind of wanted to present it in a way where it was like, these are two people who met in college, and they were both kind of partiers in college, and he grew up, and she maybe didn't grow up as rapidly as he would have liked, kind of thing. Like
Yeah,
I wanted to present a relationship that's like run its course, but like neither person is willing to admit it.
yeah. Happens to the best of us. Um, okay. Terry Fox. What was that all about? Is that what's the inspiration for the for my listeners? There's an extended I don't know a long dialogue between the protagonist and her boyfriend Scott, where she basically shits on Terry Fox because he didn't finish the race or whatever, right? The cross Canada venture, which to any CBC card carrying Canadian is blasphemy. And that plays out as imagined. So yeah, what was the inspiration for that?
Well, I definitely didn't want her to come across as sympathetic with that opinion. um, that actually came from a conversation I had with my old boss.
Okay.
Like, okay, so I had always thought that Terry Fox went from like Vancouver Island and was heading east,
Yeah.
and then he like didn't make it all the way from that direction. And then I was talking about the Terry Fox statue, and my boss was like I was talking about like, yeah, you know, he started here, and she was like, no, he started on the East Coast, and I'm like, wait, he
Yeah.
never made it to Victoria. And kind of my whole thought about it was not so much that Terry Fox was a piece of shit for not making it. Of course, he's a hero,
Yeah.
but like I just always thought it was weird to put a statue on to commemorate like him not making it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not obviously I understand why there's a statue there, but like that's kind of the genesis of it, of just like this idea of like celebrating uh like the one thing that he didn't accomplish, which was making it to the island. And that's kind of like I was thinking about it more and more, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of a metaphor for for Jess, right? Like she's stuck. She feels like she's never gonna make it where she wants to go, and here she's just seeing this statue like commemorating like never making
Yeah.
it where you wanted to go.
Okay. That's funny, man. Yeah. Terry Fox. I just was like, yeah. You know, it's easy to not think about Terry Fox, but it's in the cultural DNA, right?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the
I would
thing.
never think about Terry Fox critically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing is like, and it's so weird that
He's
it's like
not a politician or an artist. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah.
oh, Terry Fox did nothing to deserve Jess's opinion.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Uh,
That's like being like Sully. It's like being against Sully because the plane crashed in the first place or whatever. You know what I mean?
I guess I should not go into my rant about fuck Sully.
Yeah. Did you see the movie with Tom
I
Hanks?
never did. No, who directed
It's
that?
Clint Eastwood directed it. Yeah.
I've never been a huge Clint Eastwood guy.
I like the later movies. I drank a bunch of bourbon with my brother and we watched 3 of his most recent movies in a row, and it's the man's a workhorse, man.
He's a mule.
Yeah, he's a mule. Dude, the mule is awesome, man. The mule's wild.
Yeah, I just really haven't seen that many of his movies now that I
Yeah.
think back on it.
He's not an exceptional director, but he reminds me of Ron Howard, you know, where he just makes these like just solid dramas, straight up. You know?
Yeah, I just feel like every time I'm like I should get more into Clint Eastwood movies. I like look at his filmography. I'm like, eh.
Yeah, it looks like like your grandpa's bookshelf, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, okay, so I do really like Unforgiven. I think that's a great movie.
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't seen Unforgiven actually.
I feel like I need like a more contemporary viewing of Mystic River because I haven't seen it
Yeah.
probably in like 10 years, but I do remember really liking it. I think Million Dollar Baby is a steaming pile of horse shit.
Yeah, I liked Million Dollar Baby. I watched that with my girlfriend not long ago, and she hated it, and it made me cry. It won. You know, that's what I think about with movies that are like true tragedies. It's like, well, you fucking won, so it's good. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I cried. Fuck you. You win.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just like
It's
like
cheesy.
the
And
45-minute ending that I'm just like, oh,
yeah,
dead yet.
yeah, yeah. It is dragged out. Well, it's emotional manipulation. It's a classic like narrative trope of you know, sort of. I think that generation's male writing of tragedy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, who wrote that?
I don't know who wrote it.
It's somebody who like has written a bunch of stuff. I wish I could remember off the top of my head, but he's like one of those guys you go. This is the thing about screenwriters is like there are like prolific screenwriters that nobody's ever heard about unless they're like Charlie Kaufman or Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah.
And you know, like these workhorse writers like Paul Schrader and fuck, what is this guy's name?
I love Paul Schrader. Big Paul Schrader fan.
Yeah, I love Paul Schrader. You seen First Reformed?
Yeah, First Reformed fucking rocks, man. That's such a good script.
I love that movie.
Yeah, like him being his age and being able to write this millennial sort of existential problem so well while using that sort of Catholic guilt at the same time just completely floored me. I was like, fuck, like you completely framed this in such a brilliant way without being pretentious. He's very good at that. He's good at like having depth without being artsy. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that the end of that movie is pretty artsy.
it's pretty artsy. Yeah, yeah. As a
But
director,
I'm an artsy guy. Like, that's my like the pulling on the heartstrings is like if you do something really fucking weird, I'm gonna like that. Like if you take a chance and fail, I'm gonna like your movie more than if you play it safe.
Yeah, I felt that. I watched the Boondock Saints last night, and I felt that way about it. Well, it's like
it's another one that I'm like, I don't get why people like it so much.
Because it's fucking wild, dude. It is like literally dudes rock the movie. Like it is like being a fucking boy from Boston's the best damn thing in the world. That's what the movie is. Period. It does not.
I probably owe that movie another watch.
Yeah, I was pretty
There's
drunk.
a lot of movies that I've like formed an opinion on in high school and just never wavered on it.
Me too, man. Yeah, I try to work on that, especially with stuff like the kind of culty stuff. It's good to go back, I think, because there's stuff I really like that I probably wouldn't like now. Stuff that I really didn't like that I might like now. You know.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Paul Schrader is like, or not Paul Schrader. Paul Haggis wrote.
Paul Haggis.
And like
Paul Haggis is kind of a hack, dude.
Yeah. That's what I'm now realizing is like he's done a lot of work for Clint. He did $1 Million Baby, Letters from Iwo Jima, and Flags of Our Father. He did Quantum of Solace. He did Casino Royale, which is pretty good. But his biggest crime of all is he wrote Crash.
Oh, Crash sucks, man. Crash is a fucking horrible film. I think about that all the time. Yeah. Matt Dillon in that movie is like, I'm just like, I feel so bad for him. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think I own Crash on Blu-ray, but not because I wanted to watch it. It was because it was like right in that era of like everything was going online, and so like HMV was just selling everything, and it just was cheaper to like. No, I bought like that, and I think Monsters Ball for like $5 on Blu-ray, and I was like, oh, I wanted to see these movies, might as well.
Yeah, Crash is a funny one. Yeah, Crash is some Green Book kind of type shit.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Crash is worse than Green Book. Yeah, for sure. But I was gonna ask you something about movies. Yeah, what's your? You said you like weird shit. What's the weird shit you like? I'm an artsy boy too, somewhere in here, but. It's a fucking shitty question, but.
Well, it's like I like weird. Like I think my favorite genre is just genre.
Yeah.
Like I just like when people play around and like try and make things new. Like I movies like Charlie Kaufman's new movie.
I love his new movie. Yeah. I'm thinking of ending things. Yeah.
But like that movie's for like such a small group of people.
Yes. I watched it with a bunch of people who, like, no offense to them, but they kept asking questions, and I was like, don't ask questions, guys. This is just let this shit wash over you.
Like, I feel like something about that movie is like you weirdly need to know a lot about the musical Oklahoma for.
Yeah, man, and A Beautiful Mind, weirdly, like, yeah, and fucking David Foster Wallace. That was funny as fuck. I thought that was like kind of self-aware dig at sort of postmodern writing, even though it itself is a work of postmodern fiction.
Yeah, it's weird, like, because I didn't really know anything about it. Like, I didn't even know that he had a new movie coming out. It just kind of popped up on my Netflix, and I was watching it, and I was like, this is for sure based off a book. And then I was like, this is for sure based off a Canadian book.
Yeah.
I don't know why I knew it, but I used to work for the Malahat Review, like, doing like fiction, like short story intake, and so I read a lot of Canadian fiction.
Yeah.
So I really got to know like the tone. The only thing missing was a scene at a Tim Hortons.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think they got pretty close to that with the weird highway ice cream shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that movie though. I thought it was. Apparently, it's very different from the book, other than the plot beats. But I thought it was great.
The book is apparently like all in his POV.
In the janitor's POV?
Yeah. It's the janitor's POV. Yeah, that movie. I got to give that movie another watch.
Me too. Yeah.
To, like wrap my head around it.
I found it kind of gave you like the right amount of hints at what it was going for, where I wasn't annoyed by the ambiguity though. Because you remember the one scene where it's Tony Collette and I can't remember who the father is, but the four of them are sitting and she's showing them her paintings and how they don't have people in them, and they're like, she's like, I don't know, you decide how you feel. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, but I want someone sitting there to tell me what I'm supposed to feel or whatever when I'm looking at this landscape. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're fucking just telling the audience that, you know. I thought
Yeah,
that was fun.
the thing is like it's the perfect weird movie for me. It's the kind of weird movie where like you can do a watch where you're like, I'm gonna analyze everything in this movie. I want to know what it means. I really want to like catch all the hints. But it's also like I don't know if entertaining is the right word, but it like captures my attention the whole time. Even if I have no idea what's going on, I'm sitting there be like, holy fuck, what is happening in this?
Yeah, it's got that drug trip feel, but not in like a Hunter S. Thompson kind of way. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, ooh.
Well, it's like the
I wouldn't even say Lynch either. It's not really Lynchy either. It's a bit more academic.
There's movies where it's like it's a dream, even though if there's not a character sleeping.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Enemies a lot like that, where it's like,
oh yeah, I hate
like an unseen character who's dreaming this movie.
Yeah, that's the Denis Villeneuve, Jake Gyllenhaal Spider movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that movie very frustrating.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, it got overhyped for me. Like, I just saw these Reddit threads and people telling me to watch it, and then I watched it, and I was just like, I just thought it was a bummer. I have a problem with Denis Villeneuve, to tell you the truth.
Oh, really?
I don't like his colors. I find that his movie's very drab to look at. Like, Prisoners was great story. I didn't want to fucking look at it, though. Like,
I love a good monochromatic movie, though.
Yeah, I can't get behind it, man. Maybe if I saw them in a theater, it might be more effective. I feel like I saw one of his movies in a theater. I don't remember which one, though. Yeah. I didn't see his Blade Runner either. You should watch that.
I mean, like, have you seen, like, any of his early stuff? Like, have you seen, like,
I've seen Polytechnique. I thought that was quite good.
I haven't seen that one yet, but it's, like, on my list.
Ensemble
D is, like, fucking heart-wrenching. It's, like,
that's what I
it's
hear.
a hard watch, but it's really fucking good.
I like that he's Canadian, too. Like, he's really, like, single-handedly representing us on, like, the world stage in terms of film. As far as I can't think of anyone else, like Guy Madden, I guess, but not to the same extent.
Yeah, well, and the thing about him too is that like he had like such a huge career in Canada before he like made the move over.
Yeah, he made like 4 films, right? Features.
Yeah, well, Enemy is Canadian.
Yeah.
His first American film was Prisoners. Actually, I think Prisoners might even be Canadian.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's definitely filmed in Canada, but I think it's an American version. But yeah, like he didn't even want to like make the transition. He basically like read the script for Prisoners and was kind of like, I guess I'll just read the script. And then I think it was like the fact that Deakins was going to shoot it that he went over. But like, I mean, he's made a lot of good American stuff. I think prefer his Canadian stuff though.
Yeah. Maybe I should dig deeper. I just didn't like Enemy, honestly. I thought it was it did me dirty in terms of ambiguity. I found the ending. I'm like, I get it, but I just I don't know. I can't even put it into words. I just was frustrated by as I said before, I do like a good story, even if I have to piece it together myself. And I found that Enemy I wasn't interested in the story.
Yeah, fair enough. I feel like I'm a little bit less of a story guy. I think that if I get to the end of a movie and realize like that movie wasn't really about anything, but I didn't realize it until I actually thought about it, I think that's a great movie. If a movie is, I like to call it like me and my cinematographer / friend / roommate, we like to talk about like when movies sit down and have a smoke. And it's like those scenes where it's just like, all right, let's sit down, let's have a cigarette, let's talk about what this movie's about.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna make sure everyone in the audience knows what's going on. And I just like I fucking hate those scenes. And I'd like so much rather not know what's going on, but be entertained the whole time.
Chris Nolan is notoriously bad about taking a smoke. Oh, yeah. His movies are like a lot of like the first 40 minutes, even Tenet, I thought he would get over it. And when I watched Tenet, I was like, this motherfucker's doing it again. Michael Caine is here to explain what's happening. You're doing it again. What the hell, man?
Didn't like Tenet.
Yeah, I saw you gave it 2 stars on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it just simply because I was just like, oh yeah, you went full Michael Bay, dude. I didn't think he had it in him. He went full Transformers on us, man.
I just felt like he was up his own ass, but like he was trying to just make a dumb action movie, but he couldn't help himself from like
Yeah, I know.
putting all this philosophical stuff in there.
Yeah,
I honestly think that I think that you're a bad person if you think that Inception is one of the best movies ever made.
that's a good take. I can get by. I haven't seen Inception since I saw it in theaters in high school smoking weed. So, and I nor do I wish to go back. Yeah, me too.
But like, I was shitting on Christopher Nolan for a really long time, and like because of COVID, I've been doing like my little director series where I just watch like most of a filmography of a director.
I went through M. Night Shyamalan, man, during peak first shutdown.
I have not. I think it's been a few years since I revisited anything he's done.
Go back to The Village. Fuck everything else. The Village is a good movie.
I have to rewatch The Village. I remember that came out like 2003.
Maybe a little bit later, because I think Signs was his third like Hollywood movie. So
yeah, I think that like with The Village, it really pissed me off because like I remember sitting in the theater and like halfway through, I think I saw it with my brother, and I like leaned over and was like, it's not gonna be like a weird little like nature preserve or something like that. And he's like, no, he wouldn't do that. And I was like,
and he did.
Yeah. And I was like, if me, little stupid fucking 17-year-old James can figure that out, and
yeah,
I don't know. I don't like when a movie is just like all about a twist.
Yeah, he still does it too. He still fucking does it.
Yeah, I think I just kind of gave up on him. I don't think I've seen anything he's made post The Village. Yeah,
Lady in the Water is interesting too, because it's a meta narrative and it succeeds in that regard, but as an overall interesting watchable film, it completely fails. Because it's about fairy tales. I don't know. Yeah, it's worth watching simply from a narrative standpoint, but from a film standpoint, it's not very good.
Yeah, I feel like there are certain directors that like I feel like you had your chance with me, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't care enough to go back. I will say that like Christopher Nolan surprised me when I went and revisited him. I liked Dunkirk a lot more the second time.
Oh yeah, I love Dunkirk, man.
I even think Batman Begins is a better movie than I remember it being. It's not perfect, but it's good.
The action's really bad. Otherwise, it's a great film.
Yeah, the thing is, okay, Dark Knight Rises is an hour of a really good movie.
Yeah.
It's like up until he gets sent to like the hole in the ground is like almost the perfect movie, and then it just like falls apart.
I liked it. I like it. It's like he actually made a comic book movie this time. Yeah. That's what I like about it. Like it's so extra,
I love what Tom Hardy's doing in that movie. I think that his performance is fucking awesome in that movie.
That's some meme like awareness if I've ever seen it. Like Bane, the way they portray Bane in that movie is so like it feels like internet aware, like to me,
Oh yeah. I love like going back and watching the like original trailer, the one where they hadn't redubbed his voice, and he's just like,
yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like Sean Connery underwater.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that shit rocks, man. What other directors you gone through in this COVID?
I've done a lot of Fincher.
Fincher. I like Fincher a lot.
Yeah, Fincher. Like I don't care about the hate on Mank. I'm excited to see it because like Fincher can take any movie that sounds like it's going to be boring and make it awesome. Like, The Social Network should not be as perfect of a movie as it is.
It slaps, man. It's so good.
Like I know it's like become like a bit of like a film bro movie, but like I think I've watched.
Fincher is the god of the film bros, man.
Yeah,
like 7 Fight Club,
like 3 times just this year. Yeah. It's like movies like that and like Moneyball, where they're about ostensibly boring subjects, at least to me. Like I don't care about Facebook, I don't care about baseball, but these are very captivating movies because of the way they're directed and acted.
And I guess Aaron Sorkin did Fincher direct Moneyball?
No, that was Bennett Miller.
Bennett Miller. Okay. I think Soderbergh was originally going to direct Moneyball, if I'm not.
Yeah, he was.
That would have been interesting.
Soderbergh's another one that I've like gone through like.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of
like discovery. I love Soderbergh's just approach to filmmaking, where like he's sprinting towards getting the movie done, but like in a way that like weirdly works.
Yeah, it almost always works. Yeah, some of these newer ones like definitely feel like you suffer from the quickness. Like the Flying Birds movie, I thought was interesting,
Yeah.
but kind of half-assed.
I was a big fan of Logan Lucky. I think that one's a great one. It's like
Yeah,
fun.
that's a great movie. Super, just fucking entertaining, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, get hydrated.
I do my beverages.
Yeah, I just poured in honor of Bottleneck, little old tub bourbon. Why not?
Yeah, I've been like trying to figure out what I should do about that. Like I did a Q&A for Whistler like last weekend, and I was like kind of like, oh, maybe I'll have a beer while I do it. I'm like, oh, people gonna
Yeah, I was
think
thinking that
weird.
too. I wrote down in my notes, I'm like, you're going to drink bourbon during this, even if it pisses him off.
That's the thing is like I haven't quit drinking. I've just slowed down on my drinking.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd say just be honest, man, right?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the whole point of Bottleneck is that it's like it's not about quitting drinking. It's about exploring it, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't demonize the bottle in like you know, generic way. So
Well, like yeah, that's what I was going for. I didn't want it to. I wanted it to be more of a snapshot of kind of what happens and like not be all about like, oh, this is why I drink. And it's just like no,
yeah,
it's
I guess as you said, it's more of a millennial coming of age story than it is a story of addiction, I suppose, right?
yeah,
But it uses the sort of tropes of addiction to help get through that, telling that story, I suppose.
yeah. I think it's kind of like so. There's a movie Smashed. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
It's James Ponsoldt, I think is how his name is pronounced. He does a lot of addiction narratives actually. He did um, Spectacular Now
Okay,
and
I
The End
saw
of the
that one.
Tour. They're both great movies, and it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Aaron Paul in it, and they play like a married couple who are alcoholics, and it's very much so kind of about like getting sober is not like this magical thing that fixes your life. Like it's about how hard it is even after you get sober and how like people leave your life. And I kind of wanted to tell a story that was like that, where it's not like preaching about addiction.
Yeah, yeah, Smashed. I'll give that a watch. The
That's
Spectacular Now was was that with Miles Teller? Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good movie. I like that one.
Yeah, End of the Tour is a great one. That's the one I watched a couple weeks ago. It's about David Foster Wallace and
Oh yeah, and Jesse Eisenberg, right? And shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to go
yeah,
watch that.
it's a really good Jason Segel performance.
Yeah, he can be hit or miss. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like I don't think I've ever seen him do like a
drama.
serious role like that. I can't think of any other serious roles
I
he did.
can't
He
either.
fucking nailed it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think he's done very many at all. Maybe
Yeah.
outside of television, perhaps. I don't know. Yeah. So I got a couple of formal questions for you still.
Sure.
I'm curious about, and it's something I think about a lot, just in terms of COVID and film. Uh, like, do you think that the theaters are going to survive?
Mm, it's tough to say. I think if anything, this is opening the door for theaters to be a little bit more niche,
Yeah,
which I don't necessarily have a problem with. Like I I like going to see movies in theaters, but like I don't always need to see every movie in theaters.
yeah,
Like I don't know. Like I'm kind of cool with it being like a half and half thing where like you can watch movies on demand, which is the way things have been going anyway.
yeah,
So I sometimes I just want to stay in my sweatpants and watch a movie on my couch,
yeah,
and I don't want to get out to the theater and all that. So like I kind of want it to be like a half and half situation. I don't want them to go away, but I like that more movies are being released online now.
yeah. But I don't know. I have the fear that if it's half and half, it's just going to be fucking Marvel movies and stuff, and like Disney stuff that's going to make it to the theaters, and you wouldn't have the opportunity to see, I don't know, like the Irishman or something in the theaters, right?
I don't know though. Like
Because that's what people will go to see because it'll make money. Like I read an article, I can't remember who wrote it, but I want to say it was Variety, an op-ed, and they basically said they're like, okay, Marvel's got almost 5 movies in the can wrapped. When the theaters and the vaccine and all that are out, they could potentially just single-handedly save the movie theaters by strategically doing it. I hate that.
My feeling is like, because I don't like to see Marvel movies in theater because I'm just like, I don't care.
Like them, period. I keep up because I'm a pop culture like addict, but
like I'm some of them I'm like okay with. I'm like, yeah. Endgame was fun. I
thought Infinity War was a masterpiece, to be totally honest. I thought it was brilliant.
I'm trying to really remember how I felt about Infinity War.
They killed everybody at the end, man.
Like they like mashed together for me. Like I don't remember what happened in what one. I'm definitely not like. I kind of saw Endgame as like, this is my excuse to not have to watch these movies anymore.
Yeah. It's the end.
Yeah, like I hear the perfect thing for me as far as like the theaters is like, you can close down like all the like, Cineplex and all that, and I'll be fine. Just keep like the little art house ones open.
Yeah. Your Vic Theaters and Capital 6 in terms of Victoria.
Yeah, like I saw near this time last year, like I saw 2 movies in theaters the whole like Christmas season, and they were both Netflix movies. I saw Marriage Story and Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems, yeah.
And like
Uncut Gems was really intense in a theater. I watched, I torrented it, like the screener or whatever, and then I saw it in theaters, and it was like, holy fuck.
Oh yeah, like I watched that in theaters, and then I watched it on Netflix, like in the summer at some point, and it is still good, but like that feeling in the theaters, like that stress was just like palpable. It was also fun to just watch people walking out.
Yeah. People walked out of my screening for sure when I saw it. Yeah, it was mostly like, I could tell it was old people that were kind of sold on Adam Sandler, and it seemed like the husbands were having a good time because their wives were freaking out. That's like literally the vibe I got, and I thought that was very fun. Like, like, look at you, you're scared, I
saw like one guy, like it was like right after, spoiler alert, right after Sandler gets shot, this one guy, and there's like 2 minutes left in the movie at that point.
Yeah.
I see him just like grab his jacket and like storm out of the theater. I'm just like, fuck that guy.
Dude, that's awesome. Honestly, like,
and like I love when people hate a movie that I love.
Yeah. What's your hot takes? You got some hot takes off the top of your head?
Hot takes, just like
movie that's hated that you'd love.
I don't know. There's like a lot of like obscure movies that like are objectively terrible that I love, just because of like the whole experimental thing where I'm like, you tried something and maybe it didn't quite work, but I'm happy that you tried it. I always think it's weird with like my ratings of movies where like, I always think of like on a scale of 10, like I think of like a 6 is a movie that I loved that isn't a good movie, and a 7 is a movie that is a good movie but I didn't like.
Yeah, I have a similar scale. I always think like a 2.5 is, it's like I was entertained and that's it. That's a 5. It succeeds as a movie. Yeah, exactly. A 6 is often like a movie that was a little more ambitious that failed. Yeah,
but I think like the movies that I like never return to are the ones that I mark as a 7.
Yeah, I feel that too.
Like their 7s are like Phantom Thread, which is like,
I think Phantom Thread.
I can't say that that's a terrible movie, but I've tried to watch it 3 times and I like don't get why people like that movie.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it uses this the classical music motifs and this like early 19th century or whatever, or 20th century, I guess, like vibe. And then it's actually just an in-your-face comedy. Yeah, it's sneaky. It's tricky. That's what I liked about it. Like,
that's what I keep hearing, but I like keep watching. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's not a bad movie. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, it's because every time I watch it, I'm like waiting for this brilliant, like satirically funny movie that people keep talking about. I'm like, I'm bored.
It is just a vibe, in my opinion, though. It isn't quite like, and I don't mean to say like, it's just a feeling. I don't know. That's kind of what I thought about it. I was like, just like the shit, like him ordering these massive breakfasts. It's just like, Fuck
Yeah,
that.
and I don't have any problem with people loving that movie. I just like I don't get it.
Yeah.
Feel the same way about The Master.
I felt the same way about The Master too. I need to watch it again, but I didn't get it when I watched it at all.
I've seen that movie like 5 times now, and every time I watch it, I'm like, this is the time where I enjoy the movie. Because the movie is, there's no bad scenes in that movie.
No, the acting
Everything,
is phenomenal too. Like
it's well shot, it's well acted.
the
There's
music,
some
well, too.
great scenes in that movie. But I'm just like, by the time he like drives off into the desert on the motorbike, I'm like, is it over yet? I'm so fucking bored.
Yeah, I remember not enjoying the ambiguity of it. You know,
Yeah.
like what is Philip Seymour Hoffman really doing? You know, so you know what I mean. Like I kind of wanted a resolve there.
Yeah, I think it's like, I mean, I think that There Will Be Blood is like a perfect movie.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
it's
it
fucked.
was
Yeah,
one
There
of
Will Be
the
Blood
best
is like a
movies.
brilliant composition. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what I feel like to me. It's like a fucking like a symphony of perfect harmony and chord changes. Like it's like music, man. It's like
Yeah.
yeah,
It's so good. And I think that Paul Thomas Anderson has been trying to make, he can't do it
yeah,
anymore. And he like went back to his roots with Inherent Vice. He
yeah.
like,
That's
that
a
was like
great
very
film.
Boogie Nights and Magnolia kind of style.
Yeah,
I love that. And I was like hoping that he'd be like, okay, this is the kind of movies that I make. And then he makes Phantom Thread. I'm like, fuck, I'm bored.
yeah. I think if I want him to lean into the funny again, whatever his next movie is. I want him to, because he's got a master of that sort of like his films are technically dramas, but he's funny.
Oh yeah.
He's
Like
very funny.
the thing about Paul Thomas Anderson is he was so much better when he was learning how to make movies.
Yeah,
When he was experimenting. Like
because since There Will Be Blood, he's
Magnolia
gotten
is a
clinical,
mess, but
right?
I fucking love it.
Yeah,
Like you could cut an hour out of that movie, no problem, but I would miss it.
of Magnolia, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it's again, that's like it's a vibe, man. I don't want that movie to be any shorter. Like,
Oh yeah, I wouldn't change a single thing of that movie.
and it
I need.
rewards the surrealistic ending by being so long. You know?
Oh yeah, like I need the 2 hours of build up if it's gonna earn me crying when they're all singing "Wise Up."
Yeah, man. Yeah. Um, yeah. You want to talk about anything else? You want to talk about the film more? Tell me about how the actual production went. I don't know anything about that. I've never made a real film.
I mean, it went pretty like it could have gone so much worse because we wrapped 2 days before the stay at home order.
Yeah.
You know, we ended up adding 1 day to shooting. We were gonna shoot it over 4 days. We shot it over 5 days, and we
Wait,
just
that's a quick
added.
production.
Yeah, like it was over 2 weekends, and we were thinking about adding the next weekend to shoot stuff, and we decided to do the Friday instead. And thank God we did; otherwise, we would have been fucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was a rough few days. We were, pushing through everything. That all the outside stuff we shot on the same day, and it was like in a windstorm. And I think we started shooting at like 3 o'clock, and we're outside until about 3 in the morning. And then the next day we started at 10 a.m. doing all the club stuff. So it was like,
Yeah.
it was a tough shoot for sure, but I'm glad we got it all done. The weird things about like COVID is like my editor lives here in Vancouver. I was living on the island at the time, and we weren't really sure how we were going to edit it. I was going to like have to ferry over there on the weekends and edit it with him. And COVID actually kind of saved it because we were like, oh, we can just do this over Zoom. And
Yeah.
every night we would just log on at like 8 o'clock and do like 5 straight hours of editing, just like him sharing his screen.
Yeah. And that worked out fine?
Yeah. Honestly, they probably saved the edit because we probably would have taken so much longer to get it done if I had to go there on weekends to do it.
Yeah. And I find it is easier to get distracted in real life almost,
Yeah.
Where, it's like, hey, let's crack a beer, let's shoot the shit. Whereas somebody's sharing their screen, that's all you're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be the future. Could be the future of film production, at least post-production.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean,
we'd save a lot of money too, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
You probably saved a lot of money just from traveling. Like, do you drive?
Yeah, well, my car is in Victoria because I lost my parking spot here, so it's
Okay.
just at my dad's house. Because I'm
Nice.
like, I'm not driving anywhere anyway. I pay $100 a month
Yeah.
to park my car downtown.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I think we can call it quits. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, unless you got anything else you want to ask.
I think I've been through it all. I really have to piss too.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, Bottleneck, December 17th is when you can access it through the Whistler Film Festival, whistlerfilmfestival.com. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, well, WhistlerFilmFest.com, I believe, is the. I mean, just Google Whistler Film Fest.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find
You'll
it.
find it.
Yeah, December
Um,
17th it premieres, and it's available until the end of December.
yeah.
I think it's like $15 for that particular packet. It's like
You
some
get all
cool.
the student short works of that category.
Yeah, there's like 5 films in that group. So
Yeah.
yeah, check it out.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah. I'm just gonna stop recording.